Hi, this is Peter Friedrich, and today we're speaking with Zulkifil Hussain about the Kashmir issue.
Hi, Peter.
So, hi, Zulkifil. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to speak with you and hear what you have to say about Kashmir. You're from Kashmir, yes?
Yes, I am a Kashmiri.
Okay. Can you tell us briefly about yourself, Zulkifil?
Okay, hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Zulkifil, and I'm a master's student. I'm studying material science and nanotechnology, and I'm all from Italy, actually. And right now, I'm also working as a research assistant in Germany. I am a Kashmiri, and I label myself as a child of conflict. That's it about me. And I'm from the main city of Srinagar,
Okay.
from Kashmir. So I have seen all the uprisings that have happened there over the past years. I have spent my whole life actually seeing these uprisings. And to be honest, that's all about all the childhoods that have been raised in Kashmir. All you see is uprisings. All, all you get to look at are concertina wires. All you hear about are firings, crossfires going on, unaccounted deaths, and only things like this, which is actually very torturous for a child to grow. I mean, that leaves a life-lasting impression on your mind, and that's what you actually grow up with. Today, as a Kashmiri, I can say that Kashmiri, there hasn't been a single day in the last 26 years of my life where I haven't had paranoia, where I was certain of anybody who would leave home that he would come back safe. For the last 26 years, this has been what is happening to Kashmiris. Today, majority of Kashmiris, almost every other person you meet, is anxious, has depression, is going into some bad habits, are taking up drugs. Drug abuse is on rise because of the torturous realities that we have been subjected to since we were children. So I would also put forward that Kashmir is a pure case of gross humanitarian crisis, human rights violations, besides being a very prominent political issue of South Asia.
So thank you, Zulkifil. So as you said, Kashmir is a gross case of human rights violations. This has been ongoing for the past 26 years of your life. But what's different today? Why do you want to talk about Kashmir today specifically?
Uh, this I am extremely happy that this time the coverage of Kashmir issue has been at such a grand level, and as far as I have observed until now, there haven't been reportings on what is going on in Kashmir, because what ideally India was a democracy. They had, much before BJP came into power, they had already banned our local media as well. So we right now don't have any local media news channel, and all the news that's going out in India is by the reporters who are, most of them are pro-government. So whatever is going out is what they want to listen to, that everything is normal and there are no killings. It's different right now. I mean, things are going like this since Kashmir acceded and signed a pact with India. Things are going like this since forever. But this time, things are only harsher and harder. I mean, I had never thought of that I would not have to listen to my mother for 10 straight days.
You
It
say it's
started
been, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you say it's been 10 straight days since you've been able
exactly.
to listen to your mother. Why is that?
It started on 4th of August. They ostracized the Kashmiri society. They took out all the Hindu tourists, all the Indian tourists, the Indian students who were studying in the Kashmiri universities. They sent notice. They spread a sense of paranoia and war hysteria inside Kashmir. They asked those people to come out. They literally ostracized the Kashmiris, and I mean, Kashmir was only with Kashmiris, and the next thing you know, they send in 0.7 million troops for a population of 7 million people. So what do you think of it as an outsider, as a third party? Just look at it. A place is only filled with one particular social group, and then uh, troops are sent in the ratio of 1 is to 10. Those people are civilians, they are unarmed, they have no access to the rest of the world, and those troops, they are armed, they are coming with all the ammunitions, they have the provisions of Public Safety Act, of the Draconian Armed Forces Special Powers Act, under which they can do whatever they want with the people without being held accountable by the government of India. And these two basic laws are what have been torturous to the state of Jammu and Kashmir until now. And today, unfortunately, they're selling the abrogation of Article 370
Mm.
by labeling it as good for the development of the state, by labeling it as in favor of the state. But what has been hampering the development of the state is the alienation of the people that we have always felt, not only by the Indian government, but also by our own leaders who have acted as puppets to the government of India. Because these draconian laws of Public Safety Act and Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which are supposed to be imposed in cases of emergency and have to be revoked as soon as possible, they have been in Kashmir for the past 27 to 30 years.
So for the
If
past
you
27 to 30 years, Kashmir has been subject to these laws, like you say, the Public Safety Act
exactly,
and the AFSPA, the Armed Forces Special Powers
yes,
Act, which are have placed Kashmir under a permanent state of emergency, basically under a permanent state of martial law.
exactly. I mean, listen. I mean, it's common sense. If if a society has been subjected to human rights violations, it is obvious that the people will stand for it. People will take a stand because somebody's child has been killed for no reason. We had cases where we had more than 110 civilian killings. None of them was above 30 years of age. I mean, that is grossly inhuman. And then don't you even expect people to stand for it? People will stand for it. And because of these laws, what they can do is they can arrest you without any warrant. For months, they can arrest you without any warrant. So if you are really concerned of the development of the state, you should act on these things and not label Article 370 as hampering development, which it is not. In any case, it wasn't hampering the development.
So you mentioned it's been 10 days since you've been in touch with your mother. And this is because I've been speaking with other Kashmiris. This is because of this Kashmir blackout, this communications blockade that's been imposed on Kashmir, where
Mhm.
Kashmiris are being denied access to phone, to internet for a week and a half now. And
Yeah,
how often is it that you usually speak with your mother?
uh, it is really very disturbing to me personally. My mother has always also seen similar situations in Kashmir, and she is a very anxious person. So she doesn't sleep at night before talking to me. She cannot sleep at night. And today, I do not know how is she doing. I mean, it started on. I have seen her. I have talked to her on 4th of August. In the middle of it, I just heard her once for 10 minutes. She had walked miles and miles and entered a random home where from she called me. And she called a friend of mine in Delhi, and that friend of mine made a WhatsApp call to me, and then I made an international call to some random landline, and she just wanted to say that she was okay, and for me not to come to Kashmir because, of course, things were totally not okay there.
Hmm.
And after that, that's it. For 10 minutes, I heard her, and now again, I don't know about her anything. I personally got to talk to my mother like for 10 minutes from 4th of August until today. But the majority of Kashmiris who are outside haven't heard from their parents from the 4th of August. For heaven's sake, where are we living? Today the world is talking of 5G revolution, and there are Kashmiris ostracized and isolated from the rest of the world where they don't have access to even their landline telephones. This is obnoxious. Where are we? Are we in Stone Age? Where are we living?
So As you're out of touch with your mother, with your family in Kashmir, and like you said, you've spoken to her only 10 minutes in 10 days,
Yeah,
and so many other Kashmiris haven't even been able to contact their families at all.
exactly.
As this is ongoing, how do you feel about what Modi's BJP government has done in Kashmir?
See, I don't see it as a one-day move, like uh, like many people said that they did it overnight. I don't see it as something that was done overnight. I think of this as something that was very much pre-planned, and they ironically stood for their manifesto, what they were campaigning during elections. But they were, of course, pre planning it. And according to my understanding, when they withdrew the power from the government they were in coalition with in Jammu and Kashmir, was the beginning of the plan. They removed the power of the government, they put the place under president's rule, who is a worker of who is working pro government, and then they themselves generate situations where they do whatever they want with the constitution. Uh, they they literally put you under lockdown so that there is no uprising. Uh, BJP has always been has propagated itself on the basis of Hindutva. It when initially I saw BJP, it was only a
And
few.
if I can interject just briefly, Sokiful, Hindutva is this ideology, this supremacist ideology, which basically says that anybody living within India or the Indian subcontinent who is not a Hindu is foreign to the land.
Mhm.
But back to what you were saying.
Exactly. I mean, when BJP wasn't in power, when they were like budding in their budding stages, how they used to justify it was they said that it is Hindustan. So geographically, if you are living in Hindustan, you are a Hindu. To which, see, I have studied in army public school. I have been taught by the wives of army people, and they have been some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and have been taught by. I have friends who are total who are Indian nationals, but they are liberals. They are liberals, but unfortunately today the liberals of India, the educated and the wise minds of India, are in minority like us, and they are also being silenced. Nobody is listening to us. A country is not defined by minority. A country is defined by how it treats its minority, and unfortunately it's terrible today, and the moral institutions of India have failed. Everybody who ever trusted in the democracy of India, who ever trusted in any institution of India. So, coming back to Hindutva, this was obviously the ideology BJP professed on. Over the years, the idea shifted from belonging to a geographic Hindustan to being a Hindu religious person. This we realized when we saw Muslims being lynched in the name of religion, and least accountability. See, I do not know why do they use, but obviously religion, they divide the society on the basis of religion. That is their food, and that is how they get to power. I have been living with a Hindu from South India for the last 1 year. If you want to be considerate of the others, you will do that at any level. I haven't brought home beef for 1 year. I am a Muslim because I know it is bad. She will not like it, and on her part, she hasn't brought alcohol or she hasn't brought pork in the house for the same year. I mean, if you want to take care of the other, you will find a way of doing it. But but then propagating hatred amongst people, that is what BJP has done, and that is why it is winning everywhere. It started with the Hindu ideology. Today, if you see, most of the Indian states are dominated by BJP governments. In the states where they could not win on the basis of religion, they sold them the false gods of development. Now, because before BJP, we had governments which did not do as much, so those people had no other option, so they bought it. But they cannot sell this false god of development to Kashmiris, because we Kashmiris know for a fact that Kashmir is one of the only self-sustaining state in India, erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. We have had uprisings in 2016. We have had uprisings in 2010, in 2008, and we have had insurgency. We have had terrorizing situations since 1989. For the whole period, our, our economy, which today Modi says that is based on tourism, will surge and our economy will surge. Tourism was at level zero. In spite of that, we are so self-sustaining that no Kashmiri had to sleep on road. That was no Kashmiri was devoid of food. We were self-sustaining and we sustained. Our economy is one of the most stablest economies in the country. Uh, Our children are the most educated. We are doing our level best, and they cannot sell us abrogation of 370 in the name of development, in the name of getting more jobs. That is really not real. That is misplacing the facts, and that is misleading their own people.
So then, Zulkifl, let me ask you, as it seems that you're saying that this idea that abrogation, revocation of Articles 370, 35A, it's a red herring, that this justification for doing so on the basis of development of Jammu and Kashmir is a red herring.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, what do you believe is the actual real motive behind these latest actions in Kashmir?
The first and the foremost thing is fulfilling their election manifesto, because they have important elections coming up in 2, 3 states where they did not win the last time, and they have to win so they can go to, of course, any limit. And because Article 370 was the wild card they were playing, not only them, all the politicians were playing until now. Uh, Article 370, so they worked on it to ensure. I mean, even though the economy of India is in limbo today, it's going down like anything, it's crashing. They have diverted the attention, and they have done this only to prove to the people that they will stand up to the election manifesto. That is one. The second is, of course, promoting the BJP ideology. It isn't today. BJP, RSS, VHP, in whatever form they exist, they have always stood for dividing the place of Jammu and Kashmir on the basis of on the communal grounds. Unfortunate it is today that many people in India believe in that communalism in India, in Kashmir. They do not know that the yatris who were going to Kashmir for Amarnath Yatra, which is uh, one of the most important yatras for Hindu, it has been organized by Kashmiri Muslims for the for centuries, and there was nothing going wrong with that. There was nothing communal in Kashmir at all. They are trying to paint it in the colors of communal hatred. But we Kashmiris, we know Kashmir is not about that. We are going to stand for what we stand. We are a unified society. See, if Kashmir was about communalism, you wouldn't have hundreds of Kashmiri pundits signing the petitions against what is happening in Kashmir. You wouldn't have Sikhs all over the India helping girls to reach out their homes. You wouldn't have so many people who support Kashmiris from India. If Kashmir was about communalism, it is not. They are selling this to the people, and unfortunately, the uneducated masses of India who only listen to the television that is sold by the government of India, they believe in it. But those people don't know that by such a bad economy, they need to save their own selves first before thinking about taking lands in Kashmir. I mean, if I feel sad about it, I at the same time laugh out at it. How are people believing that they are going to marry Kashmiri girls when they aren't even sure of their own future, of their own food for the coming months? It's I mean, it's a mockery. It's a mockery of sanity going around the world. I don't know how are people believing that, and how are they buying that. It's really sad to see.
So then, as we move towards some conclusion, I want to hear just briefly from you, Zulkifl,
Mm-hmm.
what it was like growing up in Kashmir. You're 26 years old. So when were you born? You would have been born in 1993,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
just 4 years after the insurgency began. What was it like growing up in Kashmir?
Kashmir is the most beautiful place on earth. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Kashmiri. This is a fact. Kashmiris are the most beautiful people on earth. They are the most hospitable people you will ever find. Growing up in Kashmir has been filled with paranoia. It has been filled with anxieties, with fears. We are there are times we are horror stricken. Most of the times, today we have grown into human beings who get as in if you today I'm in Germany, and my mindset has been like that if I hear a cracker in the air, the first thing that comes in my mind is maybe it's a bullet. That is how we have grown today. And the same flashback of what is happening back home comes in my mind, even if there's a cracker show going on in some nearby park in Germany today. Growing in Kashmir has there is no child who doesn't know of the struggle of Kashmiris. Growing in Kashmir is filled with resentment for those people who have always silenced us, for those people who have used us for their power, for those people who haven't spoken out ever. I was the kind of person, I wouldn't, I'm slightly reserved. I was reserved in my own area. I'm not that outspoken. But today, after 26 years, I've realized that wherever we are is not only because the people have trampled upon us, because the wrong in the mind have hurt us, it is also because there is a vast majority which has remained silent until now, and it's high time that we come up and speak against it. And that is why today you see the intellectuals and the people who are working and living abroad in Kashmir, all of us have unanimously come together. We stand together and we have a single voice, and that is the voice of resentment against the Indian government and all the institutions that have harmed us until now, that have butchered us until now, and that have led to the situation we are in right now. So, growing up in Kashmir can never be without anxiety. It can never be with certainty. It can only be with the hope that someday what is right will be achieved. That is what growing up in Kashmir is like.
What do you think the future looks like for Kashmir a week from now, 10 years from now? What's your perspective on that? Are you hopeful?
I am definitely hopeful. The hope is the thing Kashmiris never give up on, because if you give up on hope, that means you are trying to justify the innocent killings that have gone there, that have been there. That means you're trying to justify the mass rapes that have happened in Kashmir if you are not being hopeful about the future turning up in your favor. So whatever happening is today is, I believe, the defining moment of the struggle of Kashmir, because today all the Kashmiris have a unanimous voice. Today, the whole world knows about what's happening in Kashmir because of the efforts of many people who I'm really thankful to. This movement will be completely defined right now, and whatever the future holds for us will be defined by these days. I am not really very hopeful that something will happen immediately in the coming days. We Kashmiris know that it's a long battle. We have to fight. We have to raise our own selves, and we are very much ready to do that. We have to raise our society. We have to bring in power for the people who really represent us. So it's going to be a long battle, but I'm really very hopeful that we will get what we deserve, because every human being is entitled to the freedom, to his basic fundamental rights, which he is born with. No human being is supposed to be subjected to oppressions, to being subjugated for some lustful, powerful people. I am really hopeful things will turn up, but of course it's going to take a long time and it's a long battle.
My last question, Zulkifl.
Yeah.
Do you feel that up until now that the voices of Kashmiris have been given prominence in discussing the Kashmir solution?
Well, the situation right now in Kashmir is in itself an answer to that question. If you put a state in complete lockdown only to entrust your decision, you very well, I mean, it shouldn't take a prophet to tell you that the people of the place are totally against it. Kashmiris are totally against what has been done to them for the last 70 years. The voice of Kashmir was never heard. It was never heard. I mean, we had rigged elections, we had accession with India, we had everything and anything. If the voice of Kashmiri had been heard, why would we still demand for right to self-determination today? At the first place, why would the government of India put Kashmir under lockdown? This in itself is an answer to the question. Of course, we are not being heard. Of course, nobody listens to us. And that is why nobody, perhaps in the world until now, even knew of the issue of Kashmir. It is today that we have reached an extreme level that the government of India has been the harshest in its tone to us in might and in paper, in whatever form, that today the world knows about it. I mean, imagine we have been so much isolated and alienated that today every person who wouldn't think of speaking out ever is on the forefront fighting for it and bringing out the voice of Kashmir. We haven't been heard for the last 70 years and more, but it's high time that that we should be heard now. And I really hope that's going to happen. I believe, and as I've been following the internet, and that's the only hope I have right now, I believe the message is out in the world. It's spreading very fast. And like you have also started this really great initiative, I'm really very hopeful it will go out in the world and we will get what we deserve.
Well, Zulkifl, I appreciate your time, your opinions, your perspective, and opening up about your feelings about what is happening in Kashmir right now. I sincerely hope that you get back in touch with your mother again very soon.
I sincerely hope to. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really thankful for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.